chapter 3 and setting the scene. So, creating the show, and then we talk about physical aspects of service. And I kind of mentioned earlier walking in and what you expect when you see something than actually what you get. So the goal is to have that match or surpass. That would make sense. Often you see different themes that go along with the hotel, resort, restaurant, whatever the case may be. We do see this with theme parks a lot, and it seems to be that nowadays these theme parks are trying to one-up each other with experience, attraction, certain rides, things like of that nature. So it could be used in other things too as well, but we do see it a lot with parks. So do you do it or do you not? That little statement in this slide limits the sort of new ventures or service products the company can provide. Think about that in the context of, is there enough of an audience to sustain this operation? So is that particular theme going to be something that will get, and fill in the blank here, however many guests that you need to frequent, the repeat, etc., etc., etc. So that's something that you always want to consider before you do it. Seeing what the storyteller wants them to see, right? And so how do we do that? Well, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. And there's the obvious one of the actual architecture of it, right? Sights and sounds. Setting the tone with, it could be something as just blatantly obvious as a score, a soundtrack that goes with it. It could also be little subtle nuances of just detailed sounds in the background that you would think, yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what I would expect to see if I was actually at the, and then fill in the blank for the theme. Why is environment important? We could probably spend multiple semesters talking about the environment and what it means, but this is a good summary here. Again, influence is the key word, right? We want to elicit a response from you, and there's a bunch of different ways we can do that, and environment definitely helps out with us to try to create that. We talk a lot in this class about guest expectations. So if you were to have in your mind what you think Diagon Alley should look like from Harry Potter before you've ever been, okay, or what you think Pandora should look like from Avatar. So once I set foot into those worlds, for lack of a better word, is it what I thought it was going to be? And as you kind of, and both those things have kind of, for lack of a better word, unique entrances. So that has something to do with it. Setting the mood. Kind of reverting to those two previous examples. If you were going to wait, whether it's to get into a restaurant or, in line to check in at a hotel, but in the case of what I just mentioned for these attractions in these specific areas of parks, then that environment extends for, in some cases, an hour, 45 minutes, before you actually experience what you quote-unquote came for. So that becomes important as well, setting that. The effect on a group of people who don't even use the service, the employees who co-produce it, right? So it's important that there's a buy-in quality to this in anything that you do. So explaining why you're doing it, why it's important that we do it this way, what the intended effect is going to be, and how each employee plays a critical role in that, in the success. Very, very, very important. So, again, background, environment is a neutral backdrop for some guest experiences, right? But then you have the thing where it is the setting as part of the service itself. And I think we're seeing more and more that type of, that becomes the new norm, where it is just a thing that you go, okay, this is an element of the service that, and to be honest with you, maybe the guest wasn't even expecting that the physical location would be part of it. But then it is. So how the service environment affects the guest, you look at this, you probably heard Servicescape many times, but just as you're looking at reading this chapter and you're kind of listening to what I'm saying, you start thinking about a situation you've been in where this has occurred. And you went, oh, the attention to detail for this, or the fact that I could smell this, or the fact that I heard this. While I was waiting, this person came out, and it was a character from a movie or a show or something that I was like, I didn't expect that to be part of this experience. So all those things, as you can see, build up to come and stay or stay away. And so it's all built in there. And I know, listen, we all know this. Sometimes we take it for granted, but the attention to detail to create these experiences is that you sit there and go more than once, what are we forgetting? What's the one thing that we need to add to this? Like, did we do this and did we do that? And what do you think the guest is going to think when they see this? So, again, just thinking, rethinking, structuring, restructuring, use of space, all these different elements that go into it. And, for whatever you want to say about how you feel, just because we talked about earlier, theme parks, I'm always fascinated and intrigued by attention to detail. And how someone spent some painstaking amount of time and effort and design and execution to go, golly, like, they did this. And I can't believe they remembered to do this. Or like, what's crazy is when I was, when I checked into the hotel, I did not expect to see that they understood, just random things that go into it. Temperature, air quality, smells, all these different random things. As if you're getting the sensation of flying over water, you feel a mist. Or you're in this, tropical forest and you get the smells of that location. A lot of people always talk about Soarin' and the experience at Epcot, and you're flying over and you can smell you smell grass and you smell dirt and you smell, like, it's insane the amount of detail that is there. And like we said, comfort, sounds, lights, all these different things. We could spend, from an architectural standpoint, a great time talking about use of space, and relation to everything else, whether that is, the outside of a building. If you're on the 10th floor of the resort and you look down, how the pool looks or how the ocean looks and the proximity of the trees and stuff. There's a great deal of thought and design that goes into your view from your room. Or as you're sitting, in a restaurant in Times Square. All kinds of things that go into that and how they are laid out. Functional purpose. Having a pretty extensive food and beverage background, I can tell you that we talked about functionality and design with every opening that I've ever done. And, why is this here? Does it need to be here? What purpose does it serve? And is it going to make for a good guest experience? And also flow. So things that just get looked at, relooked at over and over and over again. We talked about signs and stuff before. And don't forget the kind of the little, oh yeah, what about the people that work here? What about other people that are here? And other things that go into it. How does that react? Does this experience something that's meant to be for a group? Is it supposed to be from an individual standpoint? Is it supposed to be, how does it function? What role does the employee play in this service experience? How critical are they? Are they a core piece, and without them we don't succeed? In many cases that is 100% true. We have to make sure we factor that in as well. Not every guest ever singles out or notices all the elements in the environment, but we know they're there. And something like that usually means what? It usually means that the guests will come back more than once, and they'll start to go, you know what, last time I was here I didn't even realize they did this. I mean, that's crazy. I had no clue that was even there the first time. And that's kind of what you want, because they've come back, so that's great. Emotional, physiological, again, trying to elicit responses from the guests. What does that mean, right? Their senses, smell, look, taste, process the information. That makes perfect sense, and you go, it's a ride, it's a hotel room, it's a resort. That's what we are doing in design to make sure that is part of the experience. What are your senses like? Oh, you smell. Oh, we walk in. Oh my goodness, like, what is that smell? That's fantastic. What are they making? What is that? How did they get this to do that? Just like when you go into Margaritaville and how Margaritaville smells. Okay, that was not random. That was something that was done purposefully to elicit a response from the guest. A lot of things that we do to control areas of congestion and wait times, or we know it's not going to be something that is ideal for us, but there might be a situation where a guest may have to sit here for a few seconds. So what can we do in the environment around the guest from a service standpoint to make sure that is, for lack of a better word, a pleasant experience? And so, that's part of design. What do we do when they're waiting on this ride, or waiting to check in, or waiting to get a table? How do we incorporate everything else into the service experience before you even actually realize it's happening? The wait is part of it, and controlling that is part of it. So, again, when you look at the next time you anything to our industry related, start to kind of put some blinders on and look at it from a filtered standpoint of what are they trying to do here from a service standpoint, and why is that placed there, and why is that there, and why is the lighting like this, and why are they playing music like this, and why are they doing this? I mean, I can't stress enough about music and my years in the bar industry, and how we could control how much or how little you drank just by the music we played, and also set the tone for how we wanted our customers to react. Always successful? Of course not. But there was a motive to the madness where it was like, this is what we're playing, this song at 1:45, because we want you to leave, but also we think it helps with, kind of settling everybody down and getting them prepared to go, instead of just, this thunderous, like, get out type music. So there's always some kind of pattern, and if not, there should be, because it's really going to contribute to your success.